Hello out there. Welcome back to Burgers and Fries
with the Shake Podcast.
Now, of course, you all know me as Anthony or Desert Cow 22. We have Tony, and we also have someone new on our podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. This is Timberwolf, a.k.a. Gregory.
Nice to meet you,
Greg. Welcome to the podcast. Happy to have you on. Now, of course, what has happened, especially over the weekend, this was too big of a topic to ignore. Yeah, I'm an entertainment channel, music largely, sometimes current events, especially when something absolutely wrong is happening. In terms of whether or not I think this is wrong, that's what we're here to discuss.
I agree.
That is, of course, the overturn of Roe v. Wade. So before we talk about that, why don't we just give our general thoughts, like how strongly do we feel for or against abortion? So let's start with you, TT.
Well, the thing is, I'm neutral on it. It all depends on the situation of like abortion. Like if somebody can't afford to have the baby, yeah, that I can understand that. But just outright give it up just because they don't want it, so like that, like 15 minutes before they go to labor set, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Just let everyone know I don't want anyone giving me hate comments or anything like that, because I'm not trying to spew out hate or anything there.
We're going to get hate comments because it's three men talking about it. So we're already going to get hate.
Indeed,
yeah.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm actually against it. I mean,
okay.
Yes, I can understand for some like a medical, well, I'll put it this way. The only time I had to go along with it is there's like a medical problem or something.
Right.
But,
I would definitely agree medical problem, but keep going.
But here's the thing. During the last couple of years, I've been kind of learning that Planned Parenthood or any other organization like that has a bit of a, okay, not bit, but has a dark history to it. You know, like with Margaret Sanger and all that?
Sure. If you know, please educate if you know more about the dark history of Planned Parenthood. There's, like, I basically put a lot of my notes just on thoughts on abortion and just basically on the overturn of the decision. So if there's stuff on Planned Parenthood that you would like to talk about, please do.
Well, before I get into this detail, you know, seeing all these people on the right saying something about, oh, we're against white supremacy and all that? Well, Planned Parenthood was founded on white supremacy.
Okay. I think I know what you're getting at. White supremacy, as in they were trying to abort more people of color. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, and while we kind of brought up the whole people of color thing, I got her slave owners used to use that term as well.
I know. I'm just trying to don't want to say the wrong thing, you know.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
All right. Now, and I agree with Greg. I think the act of abortion is morally wrong. Killing unborn babies, especially late-term pregnancies as a form of birth controls, merely because the baby is an inconvenience, I don't think it's okay. We now are one of our co-hosts on this podcast that usually does video game talks with TT, whose name is Sadette, also she doesn't want to be part of this podcast, but she had stuff that she wanted to say. She said that it's a very gray area. Like she basically said, like, if it's a medical reason, if there's or basically a chance of a woman being raped, then yeah, they have a point. But in terms of abortion being abused, that's also not the right thing to do.
I agree. It's not the right thing. I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, yes.
And Anthony, we kind of brought up the whole rape thing. I kind of heard it happens like 3 to 5%.
3 to 5% of abortions are from rape cases. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's that's not a good statistic either way, but that's still very small. What you're saying is we only agree with about 3 to 5% of them. And I mean literally force. I'm not talking about a woman who, oh yeah, I'll have sex with you. Oh wait, I regret it. Oh no. And I also think in terms of medical reasons, if there's a potential miscarriage about to happen, deformities, the baby is not going to have the quality of life that it normally would have because of medical reasons. And it poses a health risk to the mother. I think those options should be available.
All right. Since you put it that way, yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
No, and I don't know about the statistic on how often that happens. Like the woman from That 70s Show, you remember Donna Pizziotti, Laura Prepon? She literally talked on Yahoo and said, "Oh yeah, I had to have an abortion to save my life." But she talked about that it was a potential medical problem with the baby that was posing a risk to her health. And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, Laura, you're a hero." It's like, that's
hero.
You had to do it to save your life. That's something we would all agree with. That's not controversial. But again, we weren't the mother in that situation. I get it. Now, as much as I don't think abortion is right in a moral reason, I'm also very much on the side of it's none of my fucking business. Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only pro-choice in that each pregnancy and decision should be nobody's business but the mother and the father, plus the advice of their doctors involved. So I agree with their right to privacy. They don't have to tell anybody. So that's the libertarian in me. It's like, look, I don't care. Do what you want to do. Don't force it on me. So now the next question, when do you think abortion should be legal, if legal at all? You have a Gallup poll that thinks 67% of Americans think it should be legal in the first trimester, which is from conception of the first 12 weeks. But then there's a trend, and it really dives down. So then that number in support slides down to 36 in the second trimester, and then further down to 20% for the third. So most Americans don't agree with late-term abortions when the human has basically grown into a fully developed fetus. And then do you know when a baby is considered viable? Any of you?
Nope.
Usually about 24 weeks. Basically during the
23.
middle of the second trimester. Some babies have been born prior. I think I have a cousin who was born really early. He was born in the 20s, and he wasn't a fully grown baby when he was born. But I remember after he was born, he was placed in kind of an artificial womb. I mean, yeah, there's medical miracles that happen that help babies born really early on. But a baby is still considered birthable or viable at about 24 weeks. And most people are against abortions up until the point when the baby is viable. So when do you think abortion should be legal, if at all?
I got no comment on that.
No comment.
That's
either.
okay. You can say, I don't think it should be legal, which if you're 100% against it, but you're right. If I were to say, I would agree with most Americans to say, okay, if it's early on, that's one thing. If it's a late-term abortion, or if it's basically, what if it's a 9-month abortion? The baby is fully developed at that point, and it's fully healthy. I would be against that 100%.
Yeah,
I
I do have to agree with Anthony on that. Because like, if just the baby's healthy and you just want to abort it because you don't want it, then that's on you.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony on that.
Now, this is based off of what I've seen, and I understand that this is so recent that anything is subject to change. So these are the following states where you can abort at any stage in pregnancy. And they include Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, New Jersey, Alaska, Vermont. Sorry, I just burped. Nice big breakfast, eggs and sausage. Vermont, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. Does that surprise any of you?
I don't know why it would.
Nope.
So then, of course, there are what we have trigger laws. So these are laws that went into place when Roe got overturned. States where now abortion is currently illegal. As far as my understanding, you have Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, South Dakota, Alabama, and Kentucky.
And as I do recall, I think as I do recall reading about the trigger law states, I think if someone ever, I don't know, try and get an abortion there or something, they'll just be sent to prison or something like that.
I've heard something like that. Like they may be faced to fines in prison, or I mean, that's the law that they made. Now, as we're going to get to, abortion is not illegal across the whole country. Like everybody that these protesters are going over, it's like, no, there's a lot of people who have been protesting that are from states where abortion is legal or where they can still get it. It's one thing if you're from Texas and you're going to Washington, D.C. to protest, but if you're from California or Colorado and you're going to protest, you can fucking go to Disneyland abortion and you can still get it. Even California's governor has said, no, we're going to keep abortion legal in our state. So Californians, you have no reason to bitch. Now,
They probably just want to protest just to protest.
Possibly.
And Anthony, if you don't mind me asking, what about Minnesota? Is that anywhere on the list?
Most states, including Minnesota, are up to 23, 24 weeks. So again, right up until the baby is viable. So that's where Minnesota lands. You have legal up to the first 6 weeks. That's Ohio and South Carolina. Up to the first 20 weeks is Mississippi. Up to 22 weeks is North Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Indiana, Louisiana, Georgia. And there's a state, and then of course there's one state that says up to 27 weeks, which is basically the end of the second trimester, and that's Massachusetts. But again, all of these are subject to change as abortion legality has now basically been returned to the people. It's been returned to the states and the interest of their elected representatives. So they've made abortion to be more democratic than ever. And people have to complain about that? Your thoughts, boys?
I'm not really surprised about it.
At this point, I'm not surprised about it either, because like with all that crazy stuff going on in the world, why should I be surprised by it, you know?
And while I do recall watching a video about something, well, I do recall she says she's pro-choice and all that, and while she kind of pointed out to, well, telling people on the riots, saying something about, if you think that the whole Roe v. Wade overturn was people on the right, Catholics, Christians, religious people's fault, she said that, no, you have no one to blame but yourself. Someone like me only went about an inch, while you people just took a mile for an abortion.
That is true. So now the next question, all right, about abortion. Do you think the men who created the kid, should they have a say in the abortion or not?
That should be well, honestly, it doesn't matter how much the men want it. It's all up to the women. It's their choice, because the child is in the woman's womb, not the man's womb. So it should be up to the woman no matter what. I mean, sure, you can have an agreement or something like that. If both parents agree, then yeah, that's fine. But if the man doesn't want the baby and she still does, the man should accept that.
Okay, but then you have child support, so the man should still be held responsible, right?
Right.
Well, I think I heard that it's either the man or the woman that has to pay for child support. I know
if the man gets custody, then yeah, the woman is held liable.
But if it's the other way around, it's the man.
Yep. And also, Tony, funny thing, don't you even heard people saying that men can now get pregnant too?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, hilarious. Indeed.
Well, that's what you get.
Oh yeah,
Well,
we remember those talks. So like, wait, you said that men could get pregnant. Now men don't have a say in abortion. So I
I didn't
remember,
even know
yeah,
this was a thing. Men could get pregnant. 'Cause I thought that's some.
it's from the transgender movement. It's from the trying to change our language into doing they them pronouns, or like even like a lot of people saying, oh no, they're not women, they're menstruating people. Only menstruating people can get pregnant. That's an all other shit show topic we can go over. But go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, honestly, I think that's just all for, well, as George Carlin would point out, change the language, control the people.
Sounds right to me. So I say yes. The men who choose to have sex with the woman should be held just as responsible as the woman who chose to have sex too.
I agree with that.
Again, it's the man who chose not to wear the condom. It's the woman who chose not to be on birth control, or the woman who chose not to use the IUD. Or all of the available options that you can use as a form of birth control.
Or use one of those day one pills.
The morning after pill.
Yeah, what do we call them? Day one, morning after. We got those at the.
Don't you mean Plan B or something?
Plan B. That's just Plan B. Sorry.
Yeah, morning after pill. Right. So there's plenty of options that people have. I mean, sex is a very risky thing. Beautiful thing if you can have it with somebody who loves you. But it's also a very risky thing, even if you are using birth control. Women can still get pregnant on the pill if they're not using the pill properly.
What do you mean not using it properly? Like, what do you mean?
They're not using it as regularly as they should, so then that leads to a little hormonal imbalance.
And well, I know there's gonna be women saying something about, oh, they just want to take away our birth control pills or something. But there's one flaw about that argument. Birth control can prevent women from getting pregnant, but doesn't say anything about preventing them from getting STD or AIDS.
No, there's definitely a lot of people who are angry about this because they think, oh, now I have to be held accountable for the mistakes I make in the bedroom.
Yeah, the government trying to control that there. It's like,
but was abortion part of the Constitution? No.
Nope.
When Roe v. Wade was issued, it basically wasn't saying that it's part of the Constitution. It just they used the 14th Amendment as oh no, it says the right to privacy, so therefore women privately have the right to this, blah blah blah. But it never explicitly said, oh no, abortion is a constitutional right, which is what led to it being overturned.
Mm-hmm. And saying all these people say, oh, we don't want to listen to what the white man has to tell us. Well, my response to them is, you mean the same white guys that made Roe v. Wade and tell you how to use it to begin with?
That's right. The entire Supreme Court in 1973 were all white men. This
Yep.
Supreme Court that overturned it has a black man and a woman on there. It's actually more diverse of a Supreme Court than the one that issued Roe v. Wade.
These people, and also these people that say, "Oh, we want more diversity," do they ever practice what they say?
It's a quote that I can give you a quote from James Hetfield when he was on Joe Rogan. He said he left the Bay Area because he got tired of the forced diversity stuff. He said you can be diverse as long as you're diverse their way, but if you're not diverse in their way, it's not really a pleasant place.
Exactly. And well, if there's one thing I'm going to be honest about, is if there's going to be another riot because of it, I suggest people get something like a badge or something like that to be prepared if they ever show up at your place.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing is at the same time you had Roe v. Wade overturned, you've also had Supreme Court basically striking down all of the unconstitutional gun control laws that a lot of states have been trying to do. They're like,
Really?
no, you should have the federal right to be protected.
Yep.
Sure, we still got our waiting periods and our background check, but people trying to do more than that don't understand it's not going to stop criminals from buying guns, and everybody should have the right to be armed.
Yep.
And that's obviously another subject. We touched a little bit on the Robb Elementary School shooting. And I'm sure when another thing happens, that topic will come up.
It will.
So, people will say that Roe v. Wade was based on the 14th Amendment. I'm going to read basically what the 14th Amendment says. It states, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge or privileges the immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction of equal protection of the laws. So where in that statement does it say you have the right to an abortion?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. This is the amendment that gave citizenship to everyone born in the USA. This was ratified in 1868. So this basically made former slaves into citizens. But they used the 14th Amendment a lot to say, no, it says this when it actually doesn't. So they often like to say, no, it guarantees the right to privacy. Well, there is the Fourth Amendment, which basically means you're protected from illegal searches without due processes. They can say this is about privacy, but it still doesn't say anything they have a right to an abortion. Now, I know you voted for Hillary and Tony. Do you think that if Hillary was voted president and she was able to appoint 3 left-wing judges in the Supreme Court, do you think that the Roe v. Wade wouldn't be overturned now?
I think it would have been the opposite.
You think it would not have been overturned?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the thing. Do you know when Roe v. Wade was made official, Tony?
About 50 years ago.
Okay, 1973, so 49.
Yep.
Well, close. Almost 50.
All right. There have been times all throughout these 50 years when Democrats who supported Roe v. Wade had supermajorities in the House and Senate. And I'm going to give you the years: 1974, 1975, 1976. And then from 1977 to 1981, they had Jimmy Carter in the White House, a Democrat in the White House. They also had supermajorities from 1988 through 1992. They also had supermajorities while Clinton was in office during his first term. And then they also had supermajorities again in 2010 and 2011 under Obama. Never once did they bring up or did they get abortion as part of the law of the land or guaranteed right to abortion as part of the Constitution. Never once. They had plenty of time to get this done because they knew that if it was a majority right-leaning Supreme Court, they could overturn it. Mm-hmm. So even old man Brandon publicly said he would fight against any attempts to overturn. And this was back in 2019. Old man Brandon didn't do it. His Democratic predecessor, Obama, didn't do it. And his Democratic predecessor, Bill Clinton, didn't do it. And his Democratic predecessor, Jimmy Carter, didn't do it. They had all this time, never did it. So honestly, if Democrats are so upset about this, they only have themselves to blame.
Indeed.
Much like what Joe Biden has done for 50 years, in terms of this topic, they've done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, Tony, you really think that Roe v. Wade would not be overturned if Hillary Clinton was in office?
Well, she was different president, so she was a different president. So
this would have been postponed. This was inevitable. And we're going to also go into just kind of the original Roe v. Wade itself. All right. Do any of you know who Norma McCorvey is?
No.
Jane Roe.
No.
You know who Jane Roe is?
No.
Nope.
No.
Jane Roe. Okay, so Jane Roe is the fictional name. It's basically the identity name for the case that led to the Supreme Court decision, Roe v. Wade. But her real name was Norma McCorvey. So it's very quite possible that her rape story was made up. Have you heard anything about this?
No.
Okay, so Norma McCorvey, the original Jane Roe, even on TV, admitted that she wasn't raped as early as 1987. And there's clips of it on YouTube you can find. And it gets even better with Jane Roe. This woman who started the whole abortion due process thing became an anti-abortion activist, saying she regretted the Supreme Court decision, only later to say on a deathbed confession that she was manipulated by the right-wing media to do so. So it's hard to know what's true with this lady. And the damage is already done. This woman is supposedly making up a story just so she can get an abortion, becomes a case, and the poster child. So that's what I'm saying. Roe v. Wade was doomed to begin with. And if Norma McCorvey's rape story was actually false, then I'm sorry, that is an insult to every woman who was legitimately raped and had to deal with the possibility of these choices that they had to make.
Jeez,
so this whole thing was possibly based on a lie, potentially.
Jesus Christ.
And I thought Amber Heard was worse.
Norma McCorvey didn't shit on Johnny Depp's bed. At least she didn't do that. Now again, folks, if you're listening, that's just based on my understanding on what I'm able to find just by doing some Google searching and just by finding clips. And if there's something wrong with what we are saying, feel free to say so in the comments. All right? I've basically gone through all my notes on this overturned decision.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, any remarks that you need to be saying?
Well, any remarks is that this is definitely gonna make history in a bad way, because this is something that was okay for about 50 years, and all of a sudden, boom! It's just they change it and stuff, and it's causing a lot of outbreak there and everything. It's just that the government should have no control what a woman does and stuff like that. That should be up to the woman themselves. I mean, why should the government get involved? I don't know.
So what do you think the next thing is going to happen? What are they going to start doing? You said they're going to start regulating your jobs?
Well,
haven't they already fucking done that when they said you had to take a vaccine to work?
No, I mean they're gonna have control of our jobs to where you can't move up or can't make more money and stuff like that. That's what I mean. Just it's going to do
the shot wasn't controlling your ability to work. It's for the people that go, oh no, my body, my choice. But then when we said my body, my choice on the vaccine, you weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying about that, Tony? It's like they already have been trying to control how you live your life in some aspects.
They're gonna do it even more. It's gonna happen even more. Is what I'm trying to say.
Great.
Yeah.
And so, are you going to vote differently now?
I don't know if I'm even gonna vote at all.
Well, honestly, I'd rather deal with the Republicans than the Democrats.
They're both corrupt in their own ways to a certain point. We should have a third party.
I mean, sure.
Libertarian. So, do explain, Greg. Why do you trust Republicans more than you trust Democrats?
Well, for my own political view, I'm kind of more like center of the right.
Okay. I've said before, I'm a South Park Republican. I'm fiscally conservative in terms of economics, but most of the time I'm liberal on social issues. Which is why I'm always going to say, okay, when it comes to abortion, do what the fuck you want. I don't care if it's legal. I don't care if it's illegal. It's not going to stop people from doing it.
Mm-hmm. And well, I can put it this way: when Trump was still in office, I mean, sure, people can bitch more and complain about the things he said on Twitter, but at least he kept the gas prices down.
I know, and we're always going to get to, no, it wasn't. No, Biden doesn't control the gas prices. Now let's watch Biden proceed to do something to try to control the gas prices. And
and also, if there's something I will be fair of, there are those on the left I do have respect for and all.
I respect Bill Maher.
And I also respect Bill Maher, as well as Ricky Gervais and Dave Chappelle. I mean,
They
yeah.
just they say it as it is. They're not afraid to talk. They're not afraid to hold the left accountable when the left does something wrong.
Mhm.
That's why I am a fan of the Amazing Atheist on YouTube, even though I don't agree with him spiritually, because
Mhm.
he does hold the left accountable when the time comes.
Yep.
Obviously, this is very new, and more bad shit can happen. More good shit can happen as a result of this, but we really don't know.
Only time will tell.
So we are officially going to start closing. So, closing remarks, Tony?
Closing remark is that like it's just what will the outcome be for the future of this? We don't know. We can't predict the future. Only time will tell. And all I can say is that like let's just hope things do get better. But if they don't, then we just gotta learn to live with it no matter what. It's the best way we're gonna be living in this world is if we just learn to just deal with it and live with it.
Yep.
So, Greg, any closing remarks as we bring this to a close?
Well, I can say this, that to people, if there's going to be a riot going on, I'm just saying if there ever will be, like in the 2020 riots, all I'm saying is that make sure to prepare yourself with any weapons if they're ever going to come to you or something like that.
Agreed. Well,
too.
that is it. That is it for Burgers and Fries. Thank you so much for joining, Greg. I hope to have you again on a future podcast that we do.
I agree.
Tony, thank you again for being part of this.
Hey, no problem. Pleasure's all mine.
I'm
Thank
Desert Coyote 22, and thank you for listening.
And this is Tony, AKT8. Peace out also, and you have a great day, everybody.
And this is Gregory, Timberwolf. I hope all of you have a pleasant day.